So many people I meet just want more energy. It's kind of the number one thing they're after. They're asking, how do I get more? How do I get more? How do I get more energy? And I like to frame it a little bit differently. Instead of saying, how do I get more energy, as in how do I add more? And most people are doing that through means of, coffee and other stimulants. The better question is, why don't I have all of my energy available to me right now? Why do I feel like I'm lacking energy? Why do I not have optimal energy in my life? And I like to think of that in three categories. If you were to break it up, you would think about it in terms of past, present, and future. And, I can get into the present and the future another time, but the past is the one that fascinates me the most because it tends to be the part of our overall energy that we understand the least. So here's how I like to think about it. So what happens, you imagine that, from the time that we're in the womb, we are this body and we start moving through time and space. And that's constant. The way that we move through time and space is constant from when we're in the womb up until the time that we die. And we break things up into seconds and minutes and hours and days and weeks and months and years. But it's just this constant, think of it as a wave that starts and then goes through our whole life and finishes when we die. So it's a constant. Then we have this thing that is our consciousness, our attention, which is also our energy. In this context, you need to think of attention as our energy. Whatever we are putting attention on, whatever we are putting consciousness on, we are putting our energy onto. So think of all those three things, consciousness, attention, and energy, as the same thing. So what happens, our body is moving in a constant through time and space, and then our consciousness or our attention is moving with our body through time and space. So they're moving together, okay? Now that happens until we encounter a distressing event. When we encounter a distressing event in our life, part of our consciousness stops and the body will keep moving, but a part of our consciousness stops on that event because it feels like it needs some sort of resolution. Something needs to be processed. So processing and resolution. And that part of our consciousness will stay on that distressing event until it finds that processing and resolution. Once it does, then that part of our consciousness, that part of our energy, that part of our attention can skip back to the present and keep moving as a constant through time and space with our body. Now, what happens if when part of our energy is stuck on a distressing event and is unable to process it, is unable to find resolution? So maybe we were very young and we didn't have the capabilities. We could have been 3, 5, 10, 15, whatever it was. Maybe our environment didn't feel safe. We didn't have someone who was a resource to talk to in that moment. For whatever reason, we are unable to process and find resolution around this distressing event. Then what happens? That sliver, that part of our energy, of our consciousness, stays at that event, at whatever age we were. Okay, so then now we've got a body and a consciousness moving through time and space, but there's a small sliver back somewhere in this event that wasn't able to be processed. And it might be a tiny bit. It could be just a fraction of a percent left back there. But now we just have this tiny sliver less energy available to us in the present. Now that's okay if it's one event. What happens if instead of one event, it's dozens or hundreds? I'm yet to meet a human being who doesn't have dozens at least of these events in their past where their attention, their consciousness is stuck back on them. So we have all of these unprocessed events. Think of it as a loop. The loop starts but never completes. Instead of coming around to full completion, the loop is left open, which means part of our attention, part of our energy is stuck back in the past. So now when we have, let's say, 100 of these events in the past, think about how much less energy we have available in the present. We might have 50% of our energy, of our total life energy available to us in the present because the other 50% is scattered throughout these 100 events from our past. Now, the reason why part of our energy stays back there at these events in the past is because it doesn't want that or something similar to that to happen again because we couldn't get resolution, There were events for me where, I was around 8 to 10 years old and I felt very, very, very physically threatened by kids who were 18. Makes sense, right? I didn't have anyone I felt safe enough to talk to about it, so that left unresolved. So there was part of me that was stuck back at that event, which was always trying to protect my physical safety. Fast forward and all of a sudden I'm a 6'2" man who's 100 kilos, yet in certain situations I used to still feel like a scared 8-year-old scared for their physical safety. Doesn't make any rational sense because it's a very emotional thing that happens. So what happens, we need to start reclaiming our energy from the past. We need to start closing the loops. Think about it. Another example, think one I see a lot, could be a female who had an issue with their dad being maybe verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, in some instances physically abusive. And because that was, and fair enough, was never able to have resolution or completion, then we can fast forward decades, 20, 30, 40 years, and whenever a male starts to get maybe assertive, raise their voice, or even if they just see it on a movie or a TV show, they'll start to go into that same fear state, and that energy from the past gets stimulated. And we could be sitting on the couch with someone we love watching a TV show, and all that fear of being abused by our father comes up from decades previous. So what happens, we spend our day, we wake up in the morning and we spend our whole day pinging back to the past. Because if we have 100 of these things from our past, these unclosed loops, then life's going to keep stimulating them, and we're going to spend a majority of our day going back to our past and trying to come back to our present, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. And then we get to the end of the day and we wonder why we're completely exhausted. It's because we've had a very hard time staying present. And that's a buzz term these days. Just be present, just be in the now. When you have these unclosed loops from our past, it is actually impossible for any period of time, any distinct period of time, to be able to stay present, and then we can get frustrated at ourselves for not being able to accomplish that. So what happens, every time that we actually go back and process and find resolution around one of these events where our consciousness is attached to from our past, guess what happens? When that loop closes, that consciousness and body that are moving through time and space, I reclaim that part of my energy back to myself. And the more I go back and close these loops, close these loops, close these loops, close these loops, I keep reclaiming and reclaiming and reclaiming more of my energy. We're not adding energy on through external means. We're reclaiming the energy of our human spirit that has been here the whole time, just fragmented in the past. And I think this is part of the overall energy equation that we don't think of. Yes, what we eat is important. Yes, exercising is important. Yes, having a compelling future that's pulling us forward with feelings of hope is important. But these unclosed loops from the past are the biggest part of the puzzle that I believe we are missing.